Julia.
Hey Matilda.
And hello everybody. This is Matilda and Julia's Greatest Knits. Thanks for joining us after kind of a long break.
Nearly a year we figured out.
Whoops. We have been busy though, so
Yeah.
we have a lot to talk about today.
That's the benefit of it.
Yeah.
We did a lot.
Yeah.
Because we had a year, maybe even a year time to do stuff. We'll show the best of actually.
Yeah, so what we're going to be talking about is what it is we've been working on in the last year, what we would fantasize we would be working on if we were in a different time, place, headspace, what we've been inspired by lately, and then we're going to finish up with a favourite three, which we'll talk about at the very end. But Julia, tell me, what have you been working on recently? Or what's the best of the best?
Yeah, what's the best of the best? Okay, I have worked on a couple of patterns, and first of all, maybe I think chronological orders. This is the waveform. It's a shawl.
It's beautiful. I remember workshopping the idea for this with you, I think.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah.
That's nice. And then it turned out like this. So
and it's
now it is there.
super...
Oh, that's really... Yeah, you can see the... So you see it's a pretty white shawl, and it's knit again in spinny.
Yep.
Still my favorite yarn.
That is and that this blue from the spinny is...
It's just great.
Unbeatable.
Yeah, it's very great. And it is super lightweight, and it has a really funny texture. It becomes like a gauzy texture, very lightweight and see-through, and just beautiful. It drapes really nicely over your shoulders. And so that I made for a liner for the magazine. And then I made, there was a fun project. They asked us if we wanted to make a couple of designs for a book based on the drawings or the publication of Tove Jansson. She was a Finnish artist. She made the Moomin books.
Yes.
Which are of course famous. And
did you read them growing up?
Yeah.
Yeah. I did too. My mum had them from when she was a kid, and she read them to us growing up. Yeah. So.
And did you have the books or the comics?
The books.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. And I still prefer the books.
Definitely.
They had a few drawings, of course, but I remember that I found them pretty eerie also.
Yeah.
And mysterious.
Yeah, definitely. Not completely happy.
No.
Which is important for children, I think.
I think so too. They're these little creatures and they live in nature. So nature was something mysterious, and it's a lot about also how you feel about other people's behavior towards you. Yeah. Which I only now realized rereading it.
Yeah, okay.
And I made the pattern that's on the front.
Cover star.
That was so exciting.
So proud of you.
So I'm going to show you on screen. It's a raglan sweater, and it's a half fisherman's rib, which means you don't knit fisherman's rib every round, but every other round.
Yep.
That's basically it. And it's based on a character from the books, which is Tutiki. And Tutiki is like a really sweet little creature based on the partner of Tove Jansson. And I found that especially nice. But, you know, I saw the character, and the character's sweater is just really, it was already a done design. I just had to...
Turn it into a sweater.
Basically, yeah. So that was one. And then I really also wanted to do something, because the first design brief was to do something with embroidery maybe, or the drawings and stuff. So I really started on that. And then I made this vest, Gentle Creatures. And it's a vest with embroidery. That was my first time that I made this. That I did embroidery, and it was really fun. I had to experiment a lot, and I did the embroidery not in the way that you're supposed to do. You know, you're supposed to put the stabilizer kind of like paper that it's like texture that you put on top of it on your garment, and then you have the drawing on that stabilizer, and then you know how to stitch your pattern, whatever you want to stitch into it, and you're supposed to put it on top of it, but that didn't work for me, so I put it underneath.
Yep.
Which really worked perfectly, because then you could see on the right side, you could see how it turns out.
Perfect.
And you can just correct it a little. So that was my own little thing. And then I made, as you know, I made a little small version of the Matilda sweater, because we have a little Thea now.
Yes.
And I thought she's the right age now to receive a sweater that lasts more than 2 months. And I had to scale the pattern a little bit so it fits on a yoke. And I had to hurry up also because, of course, she's growing like a little
weed. But,
Yeah.
but it fits perfectly, I will say. And I think we'll fit for a few more months.
Yeah, that's really great. That's really great. And then you could keep it.
It's going to be in my
or give
treasure
it,
box.
hand it on to somebody
No,
else.
no, that's too special.
And what have you been working on?
Well, I am not as prolific a knitter as Julia, but I have been knitting a bit.
Well, you do lots of other things.
I do lots of other things. So what I have been knitting is a Julia Wilkins design, the Hella sweater, which I think I started sometime during COVID, and I made a mistake in the brioche and I dropped some stitches, and so it went into the naughty box for
Understandably.
multiple years.
Drop stitches in brioche is just never gonna be.
And it was in an increase where it was terrible. So then I put it away and I picked it back up in the autumn last year, and I've been slowly working away at that. And in the meantime, I had some moths go through my stash, which was a bit of a hard moment. But I also find it very hard to throw things away. So even though the outside of a couple of things got nibbled and some smaller balls came out of that, I thought, okay, how can I still use these little scraps? And that was part of the inspiration for the colour in this sweater. So I just, every few rows, I'm holding along a little piece of some colourful scrap yarn.
Brilliant idea. You just knit, you hold it together with the
I just hold it together. So there are a whole lot of little ends that are poking out, and I might take a crochet hook to them and pull them back through, and I might not.
Yeah.
And I have started to get a little bit more planned about how I do them, in that I try and do them on a row. That means there'll be the knit stitch on the right side.
Oh yeah.
But besides that, it's pretty random. And I just...
And you developed that strategy on the go, of course.
Yes, of course. So there are some that are not like that.
That's how I design.
Yeah. So that's my knitting. And then the other thing that has been keeping me much more creatively entertained in the last year is I've been making zines. And these have been a collaboration with my daughter's paintings and drawings. So I'm going to do a close-up shot for you guys, because I have a lot of
You
them.
should see this. This is amazing. It's a delight to look at. You have a whole collection.
But yeah, so basically, when you have a toddler or a kid in your life, they do a lot of scribbles and a lot of painting, and you feel as a parent, or I feel as a parent, like I can't throw these artworks away.
Yeah.
But they keep on amassing. And so what I do is I take an artwork and I cut a little hole in the middle and I fold it into an 8-page booklet.
How she did that is... How did you manage to...
I'll link to a tutorial. I've done this.
I have something like this lying around, and it takes, I mean, my husband and me, like, whole afternoons we try to fold it up again. And you just like... Okay, but you've obviously done a few.
I've done a few, yep. And sometimes they are just sort of a bit of an abstract. I just get out my art supplies and just do some patterns. Sometimes I use them a little bit more like a journal. So maybe I use it to reflect on what Thea's talking about, or I use it to talk about, I think I have one here where she hadn't been sleeping. So I was just venting about the lack of sleep in our life.
It's really nice.
And then I also use them a little bit as my own therapy. So something else that happened recently, unfortunately, was my Matilda sweater took an unfortunate trip through a hot wash and dry cycle by a very helpful person.
It's not much bigger than the other one that
exactly.
I just met.
So this is no longer
You
wearable.
can't wear no, because
It's like bulletproof fabric now.
well,
as well.
it's like if you I mean,
You could make a yurt out of this.
I was saying something Nordic.
Yeah.
It has this
Highly
really it's
felty.
probably super warm.
So I wrote down my feelings and I made so your sweater was ruined by someone you love. And this together became part of my third major project at the moment, which is mending. Because the Buurtkamer, which I guess is kind of like a community centre near us, this is sort of fairly Dutch social thing that happens in neighbourhoods.
Yeah.
It's a community centre near us.
Community centre, that's it. Yeah.
And they have a bi-monthly mending evening run by a wonderful woman who is a product designer and artist, and she really, her whole, everything has looked at repair. So she's been running these mending nights and I've been going religiously since October. And that is the other thing that has been giving me great joy. So I think a few episodes ago, maybe episode 18 or 19, I showed this cardigan and I did the elbow patches for this cardigan.
Yeah.
And
It's evolved.
it has evolved. So
I love the colours.
I sort of envisaged this blue cardigan, which we bought together. We went thrift shopping one day.
Yeah,
You
I
remember?
Yeah.
I sort of envisaged this blue cardigan slowly turning pink over time.
Yeah.
It's just going to get more and more little darns.
Yeah.
And they'll just all be sort of different shades of pinky, orangey pink.
I mean, the more the better.
I think so too. And I put it on again this morning and I can see like basically the entire sleeves just need a bit of extra stabilization. So I've been doing a lot of mending. I've got an old cardigan of my grandmother's.
I remember this from somewhere. Yeah.
Which I used to wear a lot as a teenager and sadly has been attacked by moths. So I felt overwhelmed by the size of this mending project because if you hold it to the light, you can see it's just a confetti of
it's really the small
stars, a constellation.
Yeah. But you found a really good approach to it. You're making little...
So I'm making little tulips on it.
Yeah, adding some flowers.
And I just do one tulip every mending session so that it's just slowly over time it will come together.
And they're all... I love that tulip.
And the pink yarn that I'm using for it is called Tulp. It's a hedgehog fibre special... limited edition that they did for Stephen and Penelope about a decade ago. But I've got this last remaining nugget of, and so that's what I'm using to do the tulips, and then a couple of little woven darns. And I've got some pants that I tore yesterday that I've started mending. With a little patch on the inside and just hand stitching. So it's keeping me busy. Every 2 weeks I go along in the evening on a Monday night and we hang out and we welcome new people and and help along. It's very much a sharing of knowledge and nobody is an expert and nobody's doing it for you. We're all just doing it together.
Yeah.
I love it so much.
It sounds really gezellig.
And, super. Yeah.
super cozy, and you make beautiful things with it.
Yeah, and I think what I love the most about mending is that it really, I don't have sort of big spiritual feelings about anything really, but I think it really deepens your relationship with the objects in your life.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I love the process of coming back and spending time with a sweater that I've made, like my Matilda sweater, for example. I did a lot of mending on that, and it feels like a nice way to keep the joy of the project going.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and you celebrate the work that's been in it already.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, I have, sort of boring Uniqlo sweaters that I spend a lot of time on mending, because we know as knitters how much time and resources and energy go into producing clothes, especially even for fast fashion. And I feel very strongly that we should respect the clothes that we have.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
keep them going as long as we can.
Absolutely. And the funny thing, while I'm now knitting and designing stuff, I sometimes, in preparation of dinner, I watch YouTube cooking tutorials, and I've been watching Jamie Oliver, cooking tutorials. And in the later episodes, he talks much more about that. So he also uses, when he uses tinned food, which he does much more now, he also includes the liquid that's in there.
Yeah.
He says, it's been prepared for you like this, and there's an idea behind it, and there's taste and flavor in there. So don't throw it away. I think it's really fun. Something I need to mention still is that we did something together.
We did do something together. So we haven't been completely
No, we haven't been
offline.
No. So we started this already in summer.
Yes.
I remember shortly before the summer vacation.
Yep.
And
about 6 months ago.
Yes. And then other stuff happened.
Yeah.
We wanted to do a course together.
Yeah.
And maybe it's the first of some more, we'll see. And we did, so for the first course, we did the workshop that I've been teaching for the selvage shawl. And for that, I reknit the pattern again. And that's this one with the beautiful yarn of Knitting for Olive. They gave that yarn to me, so I really want to mention that. And this is online now.
Yes.
And it includes some moments like this, like chatty moments, but it's also really instructional. So if you live somewhere where you can't physically come to the workshop, then you can still watch these tutorials and enjoy our company, hopefully a bit.
That was our thought anyway, was we would try and get a balance between pure instruction and what we love about making our video, which is chatting together.
Exactly. Yeah, because it's also fun for us to do these things.
It is. We really look forward to it.
Yeah.
Well, what would we be knitting if we weren't busy making what we're making? So what's your fantasy knit?
My fantasy knit would be a sweater by Fiona Ellis. It's called Shelter. And it's a very beautiful textured sweater, oversized, with a beautiful collar, open falling collar, and it's kind of like a cable pattern in the front, and the back is stockinette in the sleeves as well. And it's just a really, I think maybe it's knit in Shelters even. Yeah, it's Knit in Shelter by Brooklyn Tweed. But I think
gorgeous squishy yarn.
Yeah, but they stopped.
Of course. Hélas.
So I think
they have made an alternative suggestion.
Yeah, I was just saying, I think Gilead by Dererum Natura would be my...
Yeah.
Because it has a similar finish.
Yeah, definitely.
That's my... Well, I look at it and I think I should knit it, but...
Life is short. And
who knows?
There's
maybe
a lot to knit.
Yeah, exactly. maybe sometimes in the summer vacation, sometimes I just knit stuff from other people.
Yeah.
Because I need to have
then you're on
vacation as well.
Yeah.
How about you? What would you be knitting?
Well, funny that you chose an open collar pattern because I have also been thinking about open collars, and I was looking through the Knitter's Almanac by Elizabeth Zimmerman, and her October pattern, which is the open collar pullover, really caught my eye. And I read through it, and what I found really interesting is she has two methods for creating, you know, a sort of placket collar, open collar, sort of like a polo shirt almost.
Yeah.
And Elizabeth Zimmerman's pattern writing style is her own. It's quite unique, and I think sometimes if you're not a super, if you haven't knitted a lot of different style of things, it can be a bit of a interesting thing to read, and kind of it can, for me, I don't always quite picture what is happening, but I know from experience that if I just do what she's telling me to do,
which you usually should always do with knitting patterns,
it kind of works. And so she had two instructions. One of them kind of made sense to me, and then the other one completely baffled me. And so I think in my fantasy world, I would make this baffling version that I don't understand.
Yeah,
just to see how it would work.
Exploration. Yeah.
But also, life is short, and I don't know if I'm going to do that. So we'll see.
We'll see. And maybe then you'll do the other one that you the version that you already understood.
Yeah, maybe.
Part of our returning topics is also our favorite feed.
Yes.
Things that inspire us.
Yes.
I think it started out as Instagram accounts, but then we both also have a lot of inspiration out of Instagram, of course, and we also don't want to push every one of you to Instagram. So what's been inspiring you?
Well, I think following on my theme with what I've been doing a lot of, which is the visible mending, I have gone back to Pinterest, I have to say. And through Pinterest, I found a mending maven, Collingwood Norris. And she actually, I think, does have an Instagram account, which is Visible Creative Mending. Mm-hmm. What I find so inspiring about the way that they approach mending is that it is beautiful, visible, colourful, and something that I aspire to, but I don't think I will ever quite get to the same level, which is just super crisp, almost perfect level of accuracy.
Uh-huh.
I am not aiming for perfection. I am aiming for beautiful and sort of a bit. It is handmade, and it's and
yeah.
What I love about Collingwood Norris is that it is so perfect. So I find that very inspiring.
And you can probably learn new techniques from them.
Absolutely. Yeah, they have courses online and workshops and things like that as well. So that's what's been inspiring me, and just beautifully eye candy kind of mends. How about you? What's been...
I found a Instagram account by a knitter from Tallinn. Her name is Larissa Condina, and her Instagram handle is Mikume. We're gonna put that out. Probably I spell it wrong. Sorry, Larissa. But she's a intarsia maverick.
Mm-hmm.
She does intarsia in the round, which...
Whoa!
Yeah, I think she's just cracked the code because she does it a lot, and I've been chatting with her a bit, and she said, in the beginning it was really challenging, but she's now making really beautiful sweaters with a combination of silk mohair and more like scrap yarn from her stash.
Okay.
She also re-knits from sweaters that she buys secondhand, and she unravels them.
Yep.
And she has a beautiful eye for color and how she combines them, different textures, and how she patches them together. It's just really amazing, super inspiring, and the way she uses color is just gorgeous.
Ticks all the boxes.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think if you look at all the things that we have lying around, it really also fits into the whole scrap and, imperfection, but just where the joy of making it speaks out of
Absolutely.
the garment.
Yeah.
That's really nice. Yeah, which brings us to our last topic, our favorite 3, and that's always like changing topics, things that we enjoy a lot.
Yes.
And because we've been talking about mending and imperfection, we thought that our favorite 3 scrap yarn projects would be a very nice.
Take 2.
Take 2.
So we were interrupted by our families.
Yes, we. In the meantime, maybe you see that the light has changed a bit. We're like, I don't know,
Our hair is
3 hours later, but it feels like 8 because we had lunch together.
Sunday Monday.
Our partners came with the kids. And we combined that with a nice lunch together to have some good times.
It was great.
Made me also to get our partners on board because they have to be rewarded for the hard work of taking care of the kids on the weekend, which has to, of course, as we all know, as parents, has to be split evenly.
Yes. Otherwise,
It's
somebody
only fair.
ends up going mad.
Yeah, we all need our rest, and so they join a little bit later usually, and we have brunch together, and it was delicious. Matilda made strawberry and cinnamon rolls.
Yeah. And Julia made feta and leek rolls.
Yes, and we had
fruit and veggies and
it was really nice. It's always really nice.
Yeah.
But anyway, where did we stop?
I think we were at our favourite 3.
Okay.
Weren't we? And,
Yes.
And we're doing scrap yarn this time.
Yes, scrap yarn projects.
Yeah.
Would you like to start, Matilda?
Yes. So I've already shared one of my favourite scrap yarn projects, which is my Hella sweater. And, that came about because I had these tiny little mini balls that had been created for me by nature, unfortunately, when the moths got in. And I couldn't bear to throw away some of these really precious hand-dyed yarns. And so I thought I'd just use up the little short lengths to create something that is completely unreplicable. And I think the other thing the reason I knit is because I want to make myself things that I can't go out and buy in a store. And this is one of the ways that I can do that. Even when I'm knitting a really classic pattern in a colour that's going to fit with the rest of my wardrobe, this is the sort of thing that can make it its
Fun.
own charming, fun thing.
Absolutely, yeah.
So that's number 1.
Okay.
Number 2 is, the classic scrappy blanket, and I've made several of these in my time, but I think my most successful ones are where I also carry along a single colour, so then I sort of marl the scraps with usually a grey or some sort of neutral, and I think that makes it look, chic and beautiful.
And holds it together.
Holds it together, exactly. You don't have to worry so much about ends poking out and things like that as well, which is always nice.
Yeah.
And then my last, I think I've also talked about today, which is I love having my very special hand-dyed yarns as mending yarn as well. Sometimes it's a little bit heavy weight for if I'm mending something commercially dyed, commercially produced. But that doesn't really worry me, and I think that I love visible mending, and I want my mends to be something that is then the conversation starter as well. And I think having, special yarns in there is part of that conversation.
That's really nice. And you mentioned that you are now also wearing them to your work, I think.
Yeah. So I think because I work it's not a super corporate environment. I work in a university. But it's the business school, so it's a little bit more, focused on business norms. And it took me a while to feel comfortable to wear my mended clothes to work, because it didn't always feel appropriate. But I think that, we're focused a lot on sustainable business practices and how do you, the UN Development Goals, the Sustainable Development Goals are a big part of the curriculum that we teach, and that becomes part of the conversation as well. And I think, where people have maybe a bit of a problem or think that wearing mended clothes is a bit odd, I think that that's a beautiful moment for a conversation and for me to, share something about my own values and what I think is important.
Yeah, and that will make sense to them, I think.
Absolutely, from a commercial standpoint, of course, as well.
Yeah.
How about you? What are your favourite scrappy projects, Julia?
Okay, my favorite scrappy number one is always scrappy scarves. I made this one, I think some 5 years ago or so, and I just
your little supporter scarves.
Yeah, that was the idea was indeed of a football supporter scarf, and it's a bit thinner, but it has the ideal width, which is exactly the length of my neck. And you wrap it around your neck a couple of times, and you can knot it.
Yep.
And this one I didn't sew in the loose ends, which I really liked. It's just a garter with a garter edge. I like the garter edge. And I made this one as well. This one, it was also curated in terms of colors, but this one is much more curated than you'd think. I need to mend this actually. I see a little.
Yeah.
And I really love this one as well.
Yeah.
And with this one, it started my love for the beige. It's like we
joke about this a little bit.
Yeah. My friend sent me images of beige stuff because I always like beige. But this is like oatmeal. It's actually my favorite thing. Yeah. So this is one, and then I made this one. This is based on a pattern of mine. It's just double knit. So then it's the same on both sides. And you see the red and white, which also came in with the Tutiki sweater. It's just a theme. I was like, I always like this.
Yeah, you like a skinny scarf.
Yeah, and I've worn these now too often, so I feel I need to make a scrappy shawl again.
Yep.
Then I send in a submission to the book 52 Weeks of Scrap Yarn Projects, and I selected these mittens. So that was my scrap yarn project.
Oops.
And here it's the same thing, that you hold one strand throughout the whole mitten, but it's only one ball of yarn. And then you add another one on the bottom and another one on the top. Mm-hmm. You hold those double, so then you can use your scrap. And it could be really nice to even make these with different colors, all of different rests. And then a little bright rest for the picot edge.
Love it.
So this is, never throw away the tiniest bits of neon or whatever bright colors you have. This is one. And then I really like making, but it's actually not, it's supposed to be, what's this called?
A scrunchie?
Scrunchie,
yeah.
But it's too thick.
Oh, okay.
It's now become a sculpture, which is actually on my mood board permanently. And I made this, and then I thought it really reminds me of something, and I think it's the rocket of Tintin, which is a comic strip.
Yes.
Yeah, comic strip. And it must have been in my head, and it's just a checkered.
Yeah, that orange and yet white check.
Yeah. So I'm really very content with this one. I don't wear it. I think I could wear it like once and then it will look really stupid. But I could imagine a lot of scrunchies also to become part of my scrap yarn project. That's number 3.
Number 3. Hey, that's 3 great projects. And I think for me, I just want to always use up what I've got. So
exactly,
it's important.
Yeah, because you love your yarn and you bought it for a reason.
Exactly.
And sometimes you don't find the right project for it immediately, but Yeah, we have so much beautiful yarn in our stash already.
Well, I think that's the end of the episode. So thank you so much for joining us again. And thank you, Julia. It's always a pleasure to come over and eat delicious buns. And
Thank you too. Well, you
Make
thank you
something
for
fun.
your delicious buns.
Yeah. And please do check out the selvage workshop if that sounds interesting to you. That's up on Julia's website, juliawilkinsdesigns.com. And we will see you in our next episode.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Dum 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 da da da.